there are spoilers for Ahsoka Episode 8, and you should definitely watch that episode before watching this video. If you have watched the episode, you know that it did not disappoint. And in this video, I just want to point out some of the highlights and some of the interesting things that I noticed while watching the episode. The first interesting thing in this episode was when Morgan Elsbeth was being given the Blade of Talzin. Now, not only is that name, the Blade of Talzin, a direct reference to Mother Talzin from the Clone Wars, the actual oath that she gives before being rewarded the sword is the same one Ventress took when she was being reinitiated as a Night Sister, which I thought was a really cool Clone Wars reference. The next scene I want to talk about is the scene with the undead stormtroopers and the scenes prior to it where Thrawn is talking about how these soldiers volunteered themselves to become night troopers. I love that the episode actually acknowledges that these troopers made a conscious decision to be a part of this, and they weren't just forced to do it, or it wasn't something that they didn't know was going to happen. These soldiers made a willing sacrifice of their life and their afterlife for the Empire. And I think this portrayal of stormtroopers is amazing. It actually puts them in a positive light in a way. For a long time, stormtroopers have been considered the inferior soldier type. They're not as skilled as clones, they're not as competent, they're often shown as dumb or silly, and are often shown in a light that promotes laughing at them. However, with these soldiers, it's different. These troops have been in an unknown galaxy for the last 10 years. They're finally getting a chance to go back home, and they're willing to throw it away for the Empire and for what they believe to be the greater good. Now, I know they're fighting for the wrong side, but that scene in general and the fact that the stormtroopers were willing to fight after everything really increased my respect for stormtroopers in comparison to before that scene. After that scene and a couple others, we find a rematch between Ahsoka and Morgan Elsbeth. Ahsoka wins as expected, but before that happens, we see Sabine use the Force to move an object for the first time. We can infer from Hu Yang's analysis that Sabine does not have very many midichlorians. However, in this episode, she was pretty powerful with the Force. Not as powerful as the average knight in the Order, but more powerful than Chirrut Îmwe, which is perfectly reasonable, because ability in the Force is a spectrum. Going back to the main plot of the show, the ending results in Thrawn escaping with Ezra, and Ahsoka, Sabine, Huyang, Baylan, and Shin being left behind in this new galaxy. Shin is clearly still on her quest for power. With the Empire gone, she's just seizing whatever power she can. After that scene, we see Baylan looking out at a mountain range, and one of the faces carved on that mountain is the father from the Mortis arc in the Clone Wars. Baylan's quest is not of power, it's of knowledge, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. Unfortunately, the actor Ray Stevenson, who plays Baylan in the show, passed away before the show released, but his performance in this show was phenomenal, and it's saddening that we won't be able to see him again. Overall, this episode was really, really good, and it puts us in a great spot for a season 2 of the show. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed.